All right, we are live.
We're live.
Welcome everyone to Thinky Philly Tank. Wait, today, well, Splash isn't here, but maybe they'll come. Um, but today is Monday, June 24th, 2024 at 5:01 p.m. Pacific time. We are now officially forming our TFT. Yay.
I'll read our incantation thing that Splash normally reads.
Oh, great.
We gathered and entangled, feeling, evolving, witnessing. We gather and entangle. We arrive and center, and we whirl together in our deepest presence. As many of us who are here, we suspend our self-coercion under dominating structures of time, of category, of the beliefs we have today, the beliefs we'll have tomorrow. We speak with the world in confidence and trust. We whirl to co-create with the universe, which we meet halfway. Especially today, we are the slits of the diffraction apparatus, which we'll get more into in a bit.
Love that. It's so
Awesome.
it's so like churchy. I love it.
It's I can write at home. Literally feels like church in a way that's very warm. What does that feel like to you, Entangler?
So
What are some
what?
of the feelings of it feeling churchy?
Churchy? Um, it's it feels that's a good question. How do I feel? I think I feel I think when I'm when it feels churchy, it feels um like I start moving. Huh. I don't mind it. I don't mind church actually. Or like I'm fascinated by church, or I think I shared about this before, but yeah, so it doesn't really okay, it doesn't like bother me, but then sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, we're churchy or something, and then it feels like a performance or something, which isn't like
Mm,
or anything, but it's like, oh yeah, these are like, or it's like a ritual, but like there's certain, I think some of the language, like the gathering, we're gathering here today. I think something like that just like sets it up to like churchy feel.
yeah, yeah, I do not disagree. Um, I just I want to just double check our YouTube stream to make sure it's there.
Oh yeah, that's good. And Lee's kind of, but they said they might be a little bit late.
Okay. Um, and I feel our I'm like confident that our diffraction today, yeah, we're live. Our diffraction today is gonna work great, even with just two people. I'm excited for this.
I'm excited too. Yeah. Okay. So should we can check in about roles? Looking at the agenda, the
Yeah.
roles we want to use in this meeting, and then the somatic. I can do a similar somatic thing, like a resilience toolkit somatic thing, like last time. Um, and then oh, here's Splash, and then well, when Splash get logged in, we can decide if we want to do private or public check-ins.
That's awesome.
Hello, Splash. I don't know if you wanted to change your name, but just let me know.
I had to
Lamp,
accept so many things before it would let me connect. Yes, I do want to change my name.
Lampship read your incantation and then added something at the end. um, we're just about to do the somatic activity, which I could do a similar one as last time. And then, which is the resilience toolkit, the one I learned through resilience toolkit. And then we can decide if you want to do private or public check-ins. And I just let Lamb Shift know this, but Lee's coming, they just might be late, a little late. The somatic activity? You want to, yeah, okay. I could do a similar one. It's a good practice, I think. So if you want to join me, invitation, not obligatory. But if you want, you can soften your gaze or look at something that's pleasant. Or you can close your eyes. And we're gonna do a check, like a check, internal, external check of how your stress and relaxation levels are. So, let's see. What should we do? Maybe we do colors. What is the color of your stress or relaxation right now? And again, it could be different colors and maybe different parts of your body or your awareness might have different levels of stress and relaxation. And if it's stressing you out to think of a color, don't think of a color. You can abandon it and let it go. Don't think about anything. Sometimes that stresses me out. Just kind of either thinking of a color that describes your level of stress and relaxation or not. And then also consider how you know. How do you know where your stress or relaxation is? Is it sensations in your body? Certain emotions that you're feeling? Or maybe it's a thought that you're having? Or maybe you notice a certain behavior, like my toes start twitching when I get stressed and anxious. So how do you know? How do you know? And then the next question is, if you want to be where you're at, is where you're at on your stress relaxation continuum hopeful for you right now? Or maybe not helpful, maybe it's, okay or pleasant even. But if it's not, and you want to maybe change your state, I'm going to invite you to, let's do this one activity. It's called resourcing. And then maybe I'll stack another one on top of it. So resourcing is when you focus on a part of your body that feels the best. And if you don't have, if you're like, for example, if you have have lots of pain in your body and you don't, there's nowhere in your body that feels the best, pick a place that feels the most neutral. And for me, that is sometimes like my shins. For some reason, my shins feel like the most neutral. So focus on either a part of your body that feels the best or the most neutral or the least pain. And what happens to the sensations when you focus on it? When you get curious about it? Does it change? Does it maybe spread? Does it dissipate? Does it become more? And if this activity isn't working for you, if it's making you more stressed out, can you stop? Maybe do something else, like an arm sweep. And now check where your colors are now. Have they changed? And how do you know if something's working for you? How do you know? How do you know, for example, if I was stressed and I wanted to downregulate, how do I know? What are the sounds of my downregulation? And I think I named some last time. Some of them that I've learned in the Resilience Toolkit are yawning, mouth watering, gurgling stomach. I get effervescent tingles on my skin. These are all signs for me of downregulating. What are your signs? And again, if it's not working, can you stop and do something else? And then we're going to stack another tool on top of this one, which is called, what is it called? I don't remember what it's called. But it's basically, you're going to open your eyes, slowly open your eyes and orient. What's called orient. So looking around your space. Now slowly float your eyes open and take a look around your space. You can move your body. You can look behind you. You can look out your window. You can look above you, below you. Kind of orient back into the space. And again, if this is stressing you out, please stop. And notice how your colors are now. Have your colors changed? How are you feeling? How do you know? Have you shifted from where you began in terms of your stress relaxation? Or has it stayed the same? Maybe it's increased, maybe it's lessened. And how do you know? And when you're ready, we can come back to each other. And if anyone
Thank you,
wants to,
Entangler.
yeah, if anyone wants to share, you can. What that experience was like. Very much.
My color was a like dingy white, like a linen shirt, a white linen shirt that you've been wearing all day and you've sweat in, and it's gotten kind of dirty, and it's a little like, you know, wrinkly, um and then the positive sensation was the fan blowing on the back of my neck, um and that kind of connected with the sweat on the linen shirt in sort of like, you know, one leads to the other, even if it feels oily and dingy now. It was serving me at the time.
Hey, I love that.
I had a good time realizing that I could think of like colors and shapes. Uh, I could think of like colors that have a shape to them and or have other colors with them too. And that was so much easier to access than just thinking about a color, which is normally how I interpret a prompt like that. And it's really inaccessible to me. And I realized, no, this is actually really accessible. I could really tell what color I felt like whenever I thought about it as like waves and zigzags of a certain color. And I could really think about what color I wanted to be when I thought about it as two different colors interacting with different patterns that they had to. Um, and I looked around my room and I was really felt uneasy thinking, I'm like wondering if I'm starting to become kind of discontent with how I decorate my space when I'm used to it being uh such a comforting acknowledgement of who I am. Uh I like there's a I look around and I'm right now and I'm like, oh no, is a lot of change coming? Do I need to am I fixing to change like kind of my priorities and how I'm decorating my space? Um So I left with a different with stress and a different with what feels like more stress than how I came in with. Um, but I'm and with that I'm leaning back on the colors that I knew that I wanted to be, and I think that they can roll with this stress. Uh, I'm hoping in them rolling with the stress well.
Wow, that's it. That's like really interesting to notice. I'm also thinking about
Yeah.
like the colors in relation to the decorating and also like change. Like it sounds like the changing. Do you think the change is the thing that is the stress or like
Um, yeah, being like, oh shit, I'm a bit cooped up in this. I'm a bit cooped up in this like old skin
ah
sort of thing. Yeah. Maybe I'm wondering it. And yeah.
hmm, that's interesting. Haley, we're just doing the we just did a somatic activity. And
Hey,
I
what's up? I just got home doing some errands, so I have to like listen in a little bit first while I'm bringing things in. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. We
Thanks.
might, yeah, totally. We're trying to decide while you're doing that, just FYI, if we go out into a breakout room, it's because we're doing a private check-in. But we'll be right back. Um, so does that feel good? The completeness of the somatic activity?
Yeah.
Also, does anyone want to do a somatic activity next time? Or I mean, I'm happy to continue, but also if anyone wants to try something. I'm gonna brush up on the
Yeah.
little kids thing and come in with the other tools. Okay, how about private or public check-ins? I loved our private ones last time.
Can I would y'all be down to come out of check-ins having an articulation of what shape our slit is?
Yeah.
Okay, and that doesn't mean that doesn't require that vision does not require that our check-ins are solely confined to what shape we are as a slit, um but if we can end there, uh I think I think that'll set us down a good path for the diffraction apparatus later.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I'm like totally feeling about the skin thing with what you're saying too. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, yeah. Is this gonna be public or private? I have no I mean, I always like trying public, but I'm always down. But I also like the private because the private was so good last
That
time.
was so good.
Our private comment was
I'll
so
be
good.
I'll be right back. I have to check on my potatoes.
Okay. Oh
Do you have a preference? Lamship, do you have a preference?
no. Our private was really fun last time. Um and so I kind of want to do private because that was so fun and but it wa- but I feel neutral about I feel mostly neutral.
Yeah, I was feeling neutral, but then now, because I was also working on the part of the TFT description where it talks about why we live stream, and so I
Yeah.
was just literally working on that, which is like one part is like the not the private. So then now I'm like, wait, but also like I wonder. And so then it led me to think about like, oh, do we do privates? Not only, but like when there is one of our slits who are wanting to share something that's quote unquote private or they don't want public, like otherwise it's public, not to make a overarching rule like that, but like that's something that I was just thinking about.
Yeah, yeah. Um
I'm down with public. I have no private request.
okay, I'm gonna read what you just wrote in Entangler, and so I get kind of hype about public too.
Okay. Oh wait, do we have the AI? No, wait, you're not doing the summary anymore because it sucks, right? You're not doing AI summary anymore. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it on anyways. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
goodness.
okay with the thing that sucks.
Um, so check-in question is each of us today are a slit in a diffraction apparatus. And describe what you're like as a slit today. And also tell us about whatever you want to tell us about.
Okay, I can start, I guess, because I was just thinking about it because Lamb just you you're kind of like sharing of your experience with the somatic experience, somatic
Mhm.
exercise, like reminding me of something. Which I'm gonna kind of weave in the highs and lows too. I think like I've been feeling. Oh, also I took a tolerance break, which is, I mean, it's a mini tolerance break. It's only like 3 days, or like 4 days, and then I smoked on that Friday. But I actually really liked it, and I was like, oh, I actually really kind of like being with my feelings or something, without like the weed or that. And so now I'm like made this commitment to only smoke on the weekends, unless there's like I'm hanging out with friends or like an event. So I'm like excited about that. And then the thing that I think a lot of the feeling that comes up a lot for me is like a certain loneliness or something, but it's not, but it's like a loneliness that I know is like 5% scripting of lonely or something. Like I was on FetLife and I like there's all these like like people who I like their relationships. I'm like, oh, I want that. I want that relation. And then I started feeling sad and then I like cried, but I really like it felt like a shedding kind of landscape of your, like of old kind of scripts or like narratives or like almost like a persona or something that I have in relation to like, which I think is related to the emo masso thing. So I feel like today, in terms of like coming in as a slit, it feels like I want like a shedding kind of old, ooh, cool. That's cool. Like a shedding
Yeah.
of these kind of old, like being aware of like a certain gravitating towards these sad kind of narratives and like wanting to not like do that. And then and I'm also like very excited. I'm going to my first rope jam social from this group called Devil Mass Society that was recommended to me by that rope top and his mentor. So I'm very excited about that. So I have to get a recent vaccine to go to it. So it's kind of like, ugh. I mean, not that I'm an anti-vaxxer or anything, but like, just didn't want another one. But it's fine. Like, vaccine, possible rope play. I don't, like, um, so also how I'm coming in is also with a certain kind of like enthusiasm or something, excitement for like or like being like, good job, Jennifer, putting yourself out there, like even though you're sad, you're gonna go and meet new people, even though it's scary and you have no idea about this rope culture, and it's you know there's like I have a lot of questions about it. So I guess yeah, as a slit, I'm coming in like trying to shed like these sad narratives, and then with a commitment of putting myself out there, like putting my like I'm never kind of like I won't ever create new stories if I don't like when I say put myself out there, it's basically like meeting people, like being social and like meeting people. So that's how I'm coming in.
I am coming in with a fresh intention to figure out what shape I am. Kind of like not exactly, like last week I talked about bungling coordinating plans with two different partners, and like I've been thinking about the ways that my appeasement reflex sort of puts me out of integrity with my desires and like, just a clear, it's like, it's a struggle to even understand what it is that I actually want. Like, I was trying to juggle plans to go to this party, and I went to the party and it was great. And I really, really wanted both of my partners to be there. Like, there were really good reasons for both of my partners to be there. And um, I didn't really, I didn't even, I didn't really try to make that an option because of my appeasement reflex. And just, it's a big project that I'm scoping now to be able to come from a clearer place in my relationships, I guess, and in my day-to-day life, I guess, as a bonus. So I'm a freshly cut slit, and I'm still like coagulating the wound around what exactly my edges will look like.
Lee, I'm just gonna check in case you want to share out. I'll be silent for 5 seconds or so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm happy to. I like this question. So, what are the slits in my life right now? It kind of makes me think about like the weird joint pain I've been having today. But also, just lately, I've been trying to work on self-confidence stuff, as it comes to applying for things for myself, as opposed to doing things as like a sense of duty to like a larger community or to other people. So you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just kind of like hard to be like this. I know this has legs, and I'm going to like gamble. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm just trying to break that down. Okay.
I also have like it being the solstice happening feels special, and I had a really nice night before with the full like where I realized like, oh my God, this is like the equinox moon. And then the next day was very full for me and long, sunny, hot. And I'm also feel like I didn't this wasn't a cognizant thing with the timing of that, but like also like making new commitments to myself for the sake of like my clarity in relationships and my clarity just in life in general. Um and it's kind of fun and neat, and to know that like my commitments right now are just to have 15 minutes to myself after waking up without getting started with my day or looking at my phone. It's usually sitting or stretching. And then 15 minutes before I go to bed, after I've put my phone down, and not going to do any more work or try to figure anything out after that. But I probably will still be working on my brain, but I'm not going to be trying to. And I'm done for the day and have 15 minutes where I like go on a walk or something because I love walking around at nighttime. And it just does feel like it. I'm like good job, And I just spoke with a old friend who means so much to me, and they were encouraging of that too whenever I shared that with them. And in part, it was like inspired by a conversation that I had with them last week, where they were like I don't know, the sort of check-in that you can have with somebody who loves you and cares about you and is also distant from the day-to-day stuff. I've um kind of lost track of my boundaries or my like what's good for me. I think that's it. What's good for me. Lost track with what's good for me. And I'm also excited about this. I'm like excited about this diffraction time. I want to see how this goes. It's exciting to notice that it's developed a step, and we'll see about this direction that it's developed in. But that's exciting. The shape of the shape of my slit in this diffraction apparatus is definitely inspired by the colors and stuff on my mind. It's like a it's kind of squat, and it's got some jaggeds and some wavies all along the edge. And Splash, hearing yours be freshly cut, I kind of want mine kind of freshly cut too. Like imagine if there was like those like hole punches that are pattern shaped for scrapbooking or that are at hobby stores. Imagine one of those punch through like a fleshy slit film, and it's that wild thing. That would be awesome. Entangler, I was thinking about having us draw our slits. And maybe that can be how we start. So I was the last check-in. Is there's some stuff in the updates and announcements section of our agenda. Entangler, would you like to bring that stuff up now?
Sure, I can do it really quick. I just don't want these to get lost, or especially the
Yeah.
tiny health. I was wondering, actually, do you know that tiny health has a time limit to our consultation? I'm gonna actually add that to.
No, yeah, this can be action items for me. I can look
Okay,
into
okay,
that.
yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because I actually didn't. I just thought of that right now because, I wonder if they have like you have to have your consultation within the year of da 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 da. But we're still waiting on Saffron, so I'll reach out to her. And I'll could put that on my action item. Entangler. Just want to confirm that. But yeah,
Yeah.
at some point unless people have lost interest, but like we already got the data, and so we might as well do something with it, right? Especially when we get the free consults. Okay, so we're still interested at doing that at some point. That would actually be fun to diffract.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
Does having does like a goal or like a checkpoint time for this sort of thing work well for y'all? If we're like, come next time or come 2 times from now, let's like make a plan for this, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think maybe let's see at the end of the meeting where are we going. And I feel like I want to confirm with Saffron first, see if she's
Cool.
going to still do the test. Because if she is, then we should probably wait for her results so they can all read them together. And then so like the questions I have is like, do we want to have discussions about our response to the data, just us, like looking at our own thing, or do we want to meet with the consult first and then start kind of talking about it more in the meeting in TFT? Those are kind of questions that I have. We don't have to answer them right now, but those are things that I'm thinking about. Well, thanks for adding that to the
Yeah.
agenda. And then while you write that, hopefully it's not distracting. The other thing that is the TFT Radio Show, I just want to I think it's already in conversation in the email, but just that Saffron can't make it to August or September. And if we wanted, and I know Splash suggested that we pre-record, but that just wanted to follow up on that, and maybe we can figure that out when closer to the next show. But it'd be great to have Saffron be part of part 3 somehow, either pre-recorded or we change the next show to 3 or something. But just wanted to put that into our awareness that we have to figure that out before the next show, which is not for another 3 weeks, so we have time. And that's it from updates and announcement that I can think of. Are there any other updates and announcements from anyone else?
All right,
Oh yeah.
let's go into diffraction.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's see. I'll share a Jamboard.
Oh, did you get the notification that Jamboards are being phased out? Every time I get the email, I think about you, Lampship, that
Yeah.
it might not actually be working now, but they're gonna delete them. So we have to like make a PDF or something, download it.
Okay, we should make sure we have
But
a
not till
PDF.
like October or something. Are they like deleting all the Jamboards? But I don't know if they're functional. Are they functional still?
It's working for me. Let's see if it
Okay.
works. If could one of y'all try following the link that I sent in the chat, and then I'll share my screen so that our YouTube followers can follow along.
Totally. Okay, I'm in here.
Oh, great. I see that
Why
scribble.
are you drawing?
Okay. Let me share screen.
Oh yeah, it's going away October 1st. Okay, so we have until October 1st.
All right. Do y'all see my shared screen? Ooh, boom.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we see it.
It's
Okay.
empty though.
It's empty. Okay.
Okay.
So, let me talk through how I'm thinking about this, and then we can figure out if we need more visual prompts on here too. So we know we've already touched base on how each of us are coming in as a slit on this diffraction apparatus. And what we're diffracting today is a paragraph that Entangler wrote. That's describing how we're influenced by our guests from Thinky Feely Tank #1. So what we're wanting to do today is we're going to run this description through the diffraction apparatus that's us here today, this phenomenon. And through that, we're gonna consider how this we're gonna notice how this paragraph is moving through each of us as the unique slits that we are in this diffraction apparatus. Then we're gonna notice what it's doing for it to be moving through each of us in that way, and then what the differences of how it's moved through each of us, what the differences of what's being done by the differences of how it's moved through how it's moving through each of us. And we will come out wondering what those differences do, and then with a discussion of now what we do. Having observed the what do we call it? Diffraction pattern that's formed by this by our performance as a diffraction apparatus this evening. What will we do now? And that's what we're doing today. So what I propose is that this little rectangle here, this can be a visual representation of our of a diffraction grating. And we can each draw what our slits, we can each draw a representation of each of us as a slit in this diffractive grating.
Cool. Like right now.
And then we'll go. Yeah, but there's one thing I want to check in on, which is specifically for Lee, but for anyone. I'm using a lot of really specific terminology to to what we study from Karen Barad. And I wonder if this doesn't make any sense at all.
That's mostly to Lee, right? Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, I'm kind of piecing it together as it goes along, and I'm not being. I don't feel impatient or anything. If it's okay, can I ask questions along the way if they pop up?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Lee, are you gonna be a diffraction? Are you gonna be a slit? Is Lee gonna be a slit? I guess it's up to Lee.
It is.
How active is a slit compared to other embodiments?
So the two embodiments that I imagine, being a slit would mean that you are noticing your shape, the shape of you as a slit, and you're noticing how this text is moving through you, and what you could contribute from that is sharing out, describing with your words to us, like what you notice as this body of text is moving through you. That is what being a slit would be. Another thing I can imagine is kind of abstaining from being a slit, in which case you're not doing that part, but you are, however much you want to be, engaged in discussions about the differences between what all the slits have said and what those differences do and what we do from there.
That makes sense. Thank you for that rundown. I think I'd like to observe other people being slits before engaging in this way. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah.
Heard that. That's great. I'm so glad you're here with us today. This is fun. I hope it's fun for you too. Okay, so step one, let's maybe however much you want to think back to what you said and felt during your check-in, on this rectangle right here, and with whatever little drawing tool you want to use from Jamboard, create a visual representation of you as a slit.
Who's going where?
We'll just see.
Okay, I just don't want to draw on top of someone else's. But okay. Laser. Oh wait, are we not allowed to draw at the same time?
Oh, I don't know. I think I might have been drawing for too long.
Oh, okay, we can draw at the same time. Oh wait, Slash, how do you get that green color?
Wow.
It's the highlighter with the regular olivey green.
Is the highlighter the laser?
I don't. Does it say
No.
laser on yours?
Is it the bottom?
Oh,
Oh.
highlighters. Wow.
I think that's a pointer. I don't think that. Yeah, that evaporates
Oh.
after a while. That's to say, over here we have that, but down here we have
Uh-huh.
this.
How do you wait? Where did you get the light? Oh, it's a
Yeah, you select the highlighter over here. Oh, I guess I can't.
Okay. Well, I guess I can use a pen. It's cool.
Oh, Entangler, I erased a little bit of yours.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna start again. I think I'm going to. Oh shit.
Yeah.
See. There's different ends. I get it. Mm. Mhm. Okay.
Yay. All right, and so here's a prompt for us now. And my thought with this is that we can have some time um to some what would this be? To contemplate this, to observe the effects of this prompt, and then maybe and then I imagine us sharing out. And so whatever's helpful for you to jot down in order to uh hear what other people are sharing when they're sharing, and remember what you want to share when you're going to share. Um, Jot down uh, whatever, whatever, whatever comes to mind as ways to describe your answers to these questions. Um, So I'll read this paragraph out loud. First, I'll read out um the prompt. Would anybody else like to read the paragraph part out loud though? Does anybody else feel like reading? I'm talking a lot.
Oh, unless you want someone to.
I feel like reading it will give me a different experience than listening to it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, I'll read it. So
But do you want someone to read it for you?
no, this is comfortable with me. I'm comfortable in I'm part of my slit shape is being in facilitator mode, so this fits. Okay, so I'll read this out loud, and then we can go back and read it to ourselves however much you want to as you're thinking about the following questions. The questions are: how is this writing passing through the grading slit that you are performing as? How is this writing passing through the grading slit that you're performing as? And what do you notice coming out the other side? In our current form, TFT is influenced by our guests from TFT number 1. We learn from Karen Barad's work on diffraction apparatuses to build our Thinky Feely tank each time we meet. Expanding from the more analytical version of a think tank, we're equally committed to somatics, attending to our bodies, feelings, sensations, body up learning, our relationships, and our behaviors/actions. Here, we learn from Inkem and Defoe and the work of somatic practitioners in feeling the difference between when we can rely on general analysis, such as classical physics, optical physics, and when we need to go into finer detail, quantum physics, diffraction. Whenever any member of the TFT feels a bodily no or an enduring feeling/thought that separates one from the group, it is an indication we need to go into finer detail. We also learn from Woman Stands Shining, Pat McCabe, who reminds us to always orient ourselves towards life, which is not the same as the quote unquote quote conceptualization of experience, unquote. Rev schools and TFT's desire for liberation for all must always belong with life, which includes all living and non quote unquote living. How is this writing passing through the grading slit that you are performing as? What do you notice coming out the other side? I'll check in 3 minutes and see if we want more time after that. I think that's been about 3 minutes. Can you give a thumbs up if you are complete and ready to move on? And if you're not, you can do anything else. Okay. I'm going to take another 30 seconds for myself. All right. Awesome. So whoever wants to share first, how's the writing passing through the grading slit that you're performing as, and what do you notice coming out the other side?
Okay, I can start. I wrote it out so I can also besides like okay, so wait, besides like wordsmithing issues, specific words, I wrote this. Like I felt like when I was listening, it did feel like it felt good coming into my body slit, but also maybe because I wrote it or edited it. I just like edited it. So and that, from Reframer's kind of original text. So like it felt like kind of like compacted or pointed or like not pointed and sharp, but like compacted going in, like kind of like if I was like a black hole or something being sucked in. And then on the other end, like as it exited, it felt more like rays or expanding as it exits into like feelings of freedom. But I think why maybe, I don't know if we're going into why, I'm just kind of going into the description. I mean, I think it's probably because I feel pretty good about the kind of very succinct descriptions that of the three influencers or influences. Um, but also, I mean, that's barring like any wordsmithing and stuff like that, specific words or language.
Does anybody have a as they were hearing Entangler say that, did you notice it doing anything? Did you notice Entangler's words doing anything? I just want to check in case there's anything that anybody wants to say in response to that.
I was intrigued by the image of the rays coming out the other side. And it sort of that made a mark on me. That's all.
Yeah, I was drawn in when you were talking about the block coming into the black hole and then coming out as rays. It felt like that, like coming in and going out. That whenever you talked about the rays, I was smiling a lot, and it felt drawn, like it drew me in. You were saying that.
Oh.
Awesome. I'm gonna share mine. Slash, does that feel okay to you? Okay. I said this writing is passing straight through, but some points snag. I wonder what's the thing, what am I diffracting here? How can I how can I diffract this? What's important here? In terms of what's important in this diffraction exercise with this paragraph. As it was passing through me as a grading slit, there was not very much distinction between words or sentences or focuses like there were in other times where I've engaged with in this paragraph. It felt like it came through as a stream of words for me and came out as a block, a kind of jelly block, which is so cool. And the block then like was bobbing on water, like this like gelatinous block bobbing on water into the sunset or something, and like water was rippling out from there. um yeah. That's how it came out the other side.
That's so I love it. I also the snagging. When you said the snagging, I was like, yes, actually that is something I experienced too. Listening, like certain words or phrases were snagging. So thank you for that. But that's interesting, the Jello ship, the Jello buoy, Jello. something funny. Something that actually came out of my slit, which was a jelly. It's like a cervical jelly. And I was like, what the fuck is, I even posted on Facebook. I was like, look what
On
Oh
Facebook.
jelly baby.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was alarming, but then also kind of cool. It was so big. And I was like, look at this thing.
I didn't write, instead of writing, I scribbled. And sorry, are we done with Lynn's thing? I think that particularly, one thing that I parallel with that is the snagging. And like, the red squiggles on the scientific disciplines was like, I think snag might have actually been the word that was in my head for how that was passing through me as well. And as often, the echoes of Barad's talking about the kooky misuses of quantum stuff, like the propensity of quantum to just like to be the basis for anyone to validate any kind of anything at all they want because it's not observable. And so just trying to think about, I don't know. And trying to think about like we don't do classical or optical physical analysis, right? I think at a minimum those things are analogous to those things, and I think on a wordsmithy plane, I feel like they're a distraction from what we're actually trying to say. Like they're like very in group mentions, but I'm trying not to do the wordsmithing. I scribbled specifically to avoid wordsmithing. And so that in the lower left, the thing about conceptualization of experience, that was a desire to go deeper, to like unpack, to unravel, to like again, like I'm not even there if we're quoting McCabe or one of us. And I think it's and I also don't see the like orient ourselves towards life, which is not the same as conceptualization of experience. Like who like again get back into wordsmithy territory, but like there's so like in both of these cases there's a longing for a stronger connection to my own conceptualization, I guess. Like because that like I like I'm glad the concepts are on there, but I want them to fit together differently or something. And then this circle around feeling it's it's also something I wanted to expand more. Because instead of expanding it, we go into the physics stuff, and how can we stay in feeling when we're there? That's what's come out of me.
When you were talking about your scribbles over the science terms, there was a point and there was a moment as you were talking about that there was like a hole that opened up like in this part of me and like kind of was a scary like deep hole and I was like And then whenever you talked about wanting to go deeper in conceptualization of experience, that like like soothed, and I like got close to you saying that it was no longer so no I it kind of like like gave me somewhere else to be other than like having seen this hole open up in me that was just like, whoa. So that's one thing that it did to me to hear you say that.
What's in that hole? Or what goes in that hole? Or what came out of that hole?
I don't remember enough because whenever I look at it, I remember that experience, but whenever I look at the words, I don't remember what you said that what you were saying about that sparked that led to that whole opening. And whenever I look at those words, I'm like, wait, it was something that you were saying whenever you were talking about those words and scratching them out, but it wasn't, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, you were saying we don't actually do that, right?
Which part? Don't we do?
When Splash was when Splash said that there are these uh science words and like we don't actually do optical physics, and that's when the hole opened up, and that makes sense thinking about it. The there's nothing wrong with what you said, or you saying that phrase of we don't actually do that is like has been kind of a heavy weighty judgment throughout our time in the past year for me. And like I think about like a person who is like part of Thinky Feely Tank for a bit, but then was like, y'all aren't actually doing anything. And then stopped coming. And it's also sometimes like a judgment that I have that I like then like need to like find my way to like an answer of, or like to like an answer that we are doing stuff. And so that makes sense that like that whole maybe was just like leaving, like that hole would have just been like that hole would have that hole opens up into like disengagement from the tank. That hole might be a hole out of the tank for me. That opened up from hearing that. Interesting.
That can I add something to that? Also, can I I'm just making notes, putting it in. I'm realizing as I'm putting all this stuff in the chat that I'm not recording this, and so it's not going to record the chat because it's not on YouTube. Can I record the meeting for? Is that cool? Okay. I keep forgetting to record the meeting in addition to it being on YouTube because we don't get the yeah, like we'll get the summary and all that, the transcript from Zoom, as well as the meeting chat. But also that point is that when Splash also said we don't do that was also an opening for me too.
Really?
Yeah. That's so I'm so glad you shared that because I was like at first I was like, no, there's the quantum, no, the science. And then when Splash was like, but we actually don't do that, I was like, oh yeah. Okay. And then I was like, wait, what is optical physics? And I'm like, wait, but we do that because that's what our world is based off. But it led me to being like, oh, it's representationalism. So that's what I wrote up here. Instead of general analysis, like the difference between when we can rely on representationalism, which is like, I think more what it is that we actually do than optical,
Right.
physics, right? So that you saying that was also like an opening, but an opening where I was like, oh yes, like there's I okay, and this is aligned with my slit. Okay, so like if you notice my slit is like has like the very solid narrative around the square, the rectangle, and then like I'm trying to feel instead of like telling a story or relying on these like representations like quantum physics or like these words and stuff, these big words and phrases that often require a lot of unpacking. So like I as a slit today, I'm trying to be like, okay, how can I like do the thing instead of having to like be like, okay, but I have to give this whole history and background to it instead of like being the thing, or doing the thing. So I think like when Splash was pointing certain things out, I was like, oh, like at first they were like a tightness, like I feel like a tightness. I'm like, no, can get rid of that thing. And then but then like there's certain things that you say that like open things up, and that was one of them, which is like we don't actually do that here. And I was like, oh, and then I also was like, made sorry, so notes about like, and I feel like also like when you're asking us about like how we feel, like I feel like, and I do this too, that we're going into like how we think we're thinking about it or something, right? Or like, which is fine,
Yeah.
or but it's something that I'm also noticing because my slit is noticing that, today. Um, oh yeah. So with that, I also so then I start getting, I start moving from like feeling to being like, I'm gonna not necessarily correct, but make edits. So I'm like making edits while listening to Splash. And one of them was I thought was also interesting was that the quantum, and I agree with with Splash bringing up Barad being like kind of like sus the overuse of quantum physics, which I totally agree with, and I've done that. But it got me to question what we're talking about in terms when we say quantum, because there is the quantum that's unobservable, but then there's the quantum diffractive analysis, which is like attending to the specifics of like bodies, apparatuses, the materials that produce subjects, and I feel like those things are actually pretty visible or something. So that was also very helpful for you saying that, because I'm like, oh yes, what is it? So like yeah, so maybe the experience is like it's like initial kind of like, and then being like, and then like, oh, it's fine, let go, let that go. And then it's like, oh, when I let it go, it's like, oh, something's coming in, that
Yeah.
maybe wouldn't have if I was like.
I see Lee's hand raised, and I also remember Splash starting to say something earlier on. I want to check in with both of you.
My thing will keep, so I'd like to
Okay.
take Lee's question.
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to weigh in. This is really interesting, and I think it's just kind of, you know, um, very normal to kind of have these like growth questions. But in terms of like a group showing up and coming together and talking about this and figuring out what it is that you do and what it is that you want to do. For me, when I think about quantum physics, like, like Einstein or Niels Bohr or Karen Barad, like I think a lot about how it feels like a reflection on the science end of metaphysics in the humanities. Metaphysics being kind of like, you know, basically like the philosophy counterpart of a quantum mechanic. You know what I mean? And so I wonder if that might be like something that could help facilitate how y'all are like navigating this in terms of what you're doing with the Barack work. Like obviously y'all aren't like nuclear physicists, like you're not like working for Elon Musk or like some other or like Bill Gates or something like that. But instead I feel like what y'all are doing is as creatives and artists interpreting Karen Barad's work into something that is more metaphysical, like something that's metaphysical and inspired from quantum. So like that could look like, what does the slit look like in person, like the visual exercise, but also in this conversation, like how slits are existing. I just wanted to throw that in there. I hope that is instructive, or I don't know. I just am walking into this for the first time, so I'm like, okay.
totally. That's actually that overlaps with what I was going to say also, because like Karen River Barad is a physicist, but I think meeting the universe halfway is a work of philosophy, and like and and that to me is a compliment, not a denigration, of course. And so like I think it there's a lot that I think is metaphysics in meeting the universe halfway, and I actually think metaphysics, right? It means beyond what is physical, and so, that's one aspect. It's like I think in the text there could be like on the wordsmithing plane. There's like we could talk about we like enact these apparatuses in analogy to the quantum physics processes rather than saying we're doing quantum physics. We say we kind of materialize these like metaphorical practices of diffraction. But then also, like back when Lam was talking, and also Entangler, like I kind of forgot about like my ripple tank stuff where I was like doing optical physics. Also, and then that's also the fact that of course like diffraction is not just a quantum phenomenon; it is a physical phenomenon, and so like I think a piece of that might actually also be connected also with Sam's departure and the like my identifying with Sam's desire for actually doing something and that driving me to actually do something of making a ripple tank and me wanting to bring that back into my own practice, me wanting it to like have a place in Thinky tank stuff again if I start doing it again, and and so that like it maybe even more than saying like we aren't doing that. Another way that I'm able to hear it is actually, can we do more of that again? Because I think particularly as this doesn't mention Bay, and I'm not bothered by that exactly, except but it is sort of like for me the ripple tank stuff was like research, physical research toward a bay, and yeah, so rather than the negation, it could be the what's the word? Invitation.
Yeah.
I have I feel like I have a bodily response to metaphysics. I do not know why. I know, Lee, you've mentioned metaphysics multiple times, and I have like I resist using that word and trying to like feel through it. Also, I feel like, and I'm also like highly influenced by Barad. So like I don't even know if Barad also doesn't really use that word either. I think they mentioned it in the intro a little, but like, and so like I just looked up metaphysics, and like one of the definitions is like abstract theory with no basis in reality. I feel like, I mean, so that comes to me down to like if one believes, if one's a materialist or not, like if one believes there's anything, if there's something that could exist that's not material, like I think I mentioned this before, my friend Lauren, who was studying at theology school to, and so they were wanting to make a bay that, because they believe that there is some kind of realm in which there's no matter, right? It's just spiritual. Meaning the spiritual has no material, no atoms or whatever. So like, and so they're like wanting to make a bay out of that. And I was like, that's great. So like, I think it also, again, comes down to like, yeah, like metaphysics to me implies that there is a separation between material and discursive. And that's one thing that Barad emphasizes a lot, which is those things are not separate and that the discursive is actually material. So I feel like maybe that's one reason why they don't use, but I also don't know if that's like how metaphysics is used. But I just wanted to point out that there's some kind of, I have some kind of bodily resistance to like metaphysics. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, me too, me too, me
Okay,
too.
okay.
Yeah, no, I think there's a reason for it, right? I think it's like a trauma corner of academia, and like I can get into why, because it's basically like the really annoying, difficult dude thinkers like Wittgenstein or like Heidegger, and from those dudes to who did this Britannica article is quite good. Hegel is also in the camp.
Could I open this up and it pop up as a tab? Does that
Yeah,
feel good? Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it kind of goes through different types of like ideas of what the abstract is basically like. What are emotions? What is identity? Those sorts of things. So in terms of metaphysics, I would say it's more of like a philosophical branch of like dealing with reality. If you look at what is it? There was like an example of 1+1 here that was interesting. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, here.
Oh, you got it?
I think
Wow.
so.
Hold on, let me look at where you are. Oh, yeah, Descartes. Yeah, so like, just looking at math, like translating math to a humanities or philosophical equivalent or ideological equivalent. So it's like a necessary truth is like 1+1 = 2, and things equal to the same thing or equal to each other, right? So that's like a math truth. But Descartes is talking about like how does that extend to human like material or physical existence? That line between material physical existence is I think where metaphysics kind of challenges that, because I would argue like for instance Heidegger is like metaphysical in the sense of there's this really cool essay. It's the only essay that I liked of his. It's this really great idea. Do y'all mind if I info dump really quick?
Bring it on.
Thumbs up from me.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, it's just kind of like a classic essay. The way Heidegger wrote is like super annoying, but like whatever. So it's building, dwelling, thinking. And I think that's what it is. It's some kind of like 3 verbs kind of thing like that. And basically, he writes about how everybody has this like interior subjective, obviously from like their life, it makes up their experiences, their perspectives. And in order to really connect with somebody else and really share your experiences and your perspective with somebody else, you have to kind of like, in a way, make a bridge. There are different ways that a bridge could exist, right? Like communication obviously is a bridge, like language is a bridge, Zoom is a bridge. And that is like a flexible application. I think it's metaphysical, especially because it pushes the line of like what is identity and what is the reality, where like identity is chewed up by reality. I don't know, that's kind of like the approach I was thinking with metaphysics. But yeah, I agree that like metaphysics does have kind of like what is it? Like a epistemology kind of vibe, like breaking the episteme is like an important thing within philosophy. Like, we can't rely on the Western canon is like the same sentiment. So I'll just leave it at that, but I do think that, similar to how like Descartes is like talking about like theoretical truths in math and like relating that to philosophy, I wonder if y'all could be doing a similar action of being artists who are bringing life to some of this theoretical quantum physics. Even though Karen Barad doesn't talk about metaphysics, that makes sense to me because metaphysics is a humanities thing and not like a physics science thing.
Well, they are actually in humanities. I mean, they teach in history of consciousness at UC Santa Cruz. So
Oh shit, my
so
bad.
and that's like their whole jam is to kind of cross, like they have a PhD in theoretical physics, but they teach in the humanities. So they're very interested in bridging humanities and
Yeah,
science. So a lot of it,
right.
that kind of goes into like because I feel like it's good. Thank you for sharing all that, because it kind of also gives me understanding of the roots of that. And it does, because of the main figures who are scripting metaphysics are coming from Descartes, which is like the father of the mind-body split. So that makes sense why I get the sense that there's like a different ontology when people who are coming from a metaphysical kind of background, because I think the ontology is based off a mind-body split, that there is a mind and there's a body and they're separate. Therefore, there exists in metaphysics. I think for someone like Barad, that split doesn't happen, or like Enkem and Defo, or even Pat McCabe, in which none of those people are coming from that ontology. So then metaphysics doesn't even exist, if that makes sense, because it is all grounded in in material, like it's not like the philosophy is material. And I think this is very helpful for me, because it's getting me to really understand like what I think is important in what we're doing, which is the materialization of all this, or the activating this. So like none of these like ideas or theories, and I think it's important to reference these people because it's like pulled from them, but we're trying to like actually build the diffraction apparatus that is actually somatic, that is attending to life, like, so like we're so then like for me, so this is making me think like how important it is to emphasize that the material impacts of all this, like that I'm not interested in trafficking in metaphysics or the theoretical, but that it's like inseparable from the material, and that what I want to emphasize is like our investment in material impacts and the material co-production of subjects. And I think the main thing about quantum physics that I'm interested in is like that it allows us to engage with the world as not a fully formed thing. Like for me, quantum physics allows us to engage with each other in the world as we are becoming always, and therefore we are responsible for each other's scripting as subjects and objects. That's my interest in quantum physics.
Does it sound accurate to think about quantum physics? And this comes back to one of the things that I heard in what you had said firstly, of like, I don't know if this is I don't know if this was understanding you correctly, but like you kind of trace this lineage of like metaphysics stuff in the humanities, and then quantum physics developing as a way to and quantum physics being able to describe some of that stuff through science paradigms. And then it coming like it and then it, I don't know, but it makes me wonder, like, because I think I know less about understanding metaphysics than any of y'all. And so what is in my mind is like there being physics, which is like the stuff that is measurable, and there being a boundary to that, and then metaphysics referring to everything that is perceived as beyond what can fall within the rules or laws or observation or sciences of physics. And that does it sound accurate to understand quantum physics as a way of developing a science that broadens the scope of what is physics to include what was previously metaphysics beyond the boundaries of what physics can engage in, where then quantum physics is a physics and a science that allows us that then provides a science to engage in what was otherwise previously metaphysics, but now falls within quantum physics. I don't know, is that true to y'all's understanding and true to what you were saying initially too, Lee?
Yes, I guess. And thank you for recapping that. That's always really helpful to have weaving in conversation. Yeah, I mean, it does feel kind of like how everything just kind of collides.
And so like it's Entangler, I wonder, like you were saying that like you responded to a lot of resistance to metaphysics, and like if we see metaphysics through a perspective that is, metaphysics is what was previously unaccounted for by physics, but is now accounted for by quantum physics, then maybe that's a path to engaging in metaphysics in the value that they have or something. I don't know if there's any truth or something to that, if they are just coming from completely different ontologies or something. Yeah.
Barad actually, so I searched for metaphysics in my ebook of
Oh my God, thank you.
research. And there are a couple of places. Oh, it's actually just one place. They say that in chapter 7 they will talk about, where'd you go? Oh no, actually, yeah, there's so it's talk about during the past decade, technological process in experimental physics has opened up an entirely new empirical domain, the world of experimental metaphysics. That is, questions previously thought to be a matter solely for philosophical debate have been brought into the orbit of empirical inquiry. This is a striking development because it allows scientists to explore metaphysical issues in the laboratory. So much for the category of metaphysical. So that's chapter 7, and there's not so many hits for metaphysics in chapter 7. Actually, but the title is Quantum Entanglements, Experimental Metaphysics and the Nature of Nature.
Wow.
And
love it. And I'm not surprised, because the way that I was trying to talk about it is there's possibility to hold tension there, to deconstruct false empiricisms or false ontologies, and really break it down. But I'm not sure if that's what y'all are interested in, because the slit imagery, Lampshift, when you first were describing it earlier, it really made me think of some deconstructionist sentiment that I hold very dear. So yeah, no, that's cool that chapter 7 focuses on experimental metaphysics, because I think more contemporary forms of metaphysics looks at kind of how experience and thought come into play and are tied up with everything, not a full separation. Within that spectrum, it's acknowledging that there isn't a separation as well as a separation. I'm sorry if I'm rambling.
Not at all. No, you're it's entirely on topic. I'm gonna bring things back to Wittgenstein just because he happens to be one of my top 3, and
You never talked about Wittgenstein before. I'm excited to hear what this is.
It's about it starts with coming from the language world and dictionaries, and the impact that Wittgenstein had on how we understand meaning. But really, I actually see Wittgenstein, what he has to say about the ways that he says that language bewitches our understanding, and that philosophy is the struggle against the bewitchment of our understanding by the means of our language. And so it's all about sort of saying these representations that we have for these concepts, we're pointing at the representations instead of engaging with the reality. And so I really see him actually as being quite in parallel with Barad in terms of saying I know you guys really like this and it's really part of your culture, but you're not actually talking about the thing. You're just talking about the ways you talk about the thing. And so that, I and that's where, and again, I think where it gets in, that's where the epistemological stuff gets in. It's where it's conceptually, it's all about conceptualization of experience. And one of his questions is also, can a machine have a toothache or something? I forget.
Oh, what?
I'll have to look it up. Can a machine have a toothache? And why can't it?
I like that.
I mean, isn't that why we have WD-40?
Yeah, a machine can't have a toothache because we have WD-40. We'll fix it, baby. That pain won't be coming.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, we got you.
Um, I'm gonna unveil this question, and see if we want to engage with it. What do the differences do? And so what this question, what I see as the purpose of this question is uh is for us to look at all the waves caused by how this paragraph moved through each of us, and what was done by it moving through each of us, and what came out of us on the other side when this paragraph moved through, and for us to look at all of those waves and note any effects of difference that haven't otherwise been noted in our conversation.
But some of the differences that I noted were all our different references. You know, I'm just coming off of this, like a lot, like these were just from because of our TFT guests, but then these TFT guests were also like people that I like. Barad and Enchem were people that I wanted, and then Pat was someone that Gradient brought in. So like these are obviously a lot of our references, and so like it's interesting to hear everyone else's references. And something about Splash also said at the very beginning when they're doing kind of their sharing their kind of response to it, about wanting some of their this is a paraphrase, but wanting some of theirs in there too. So I feel like the differences that I'm noticing is our kind of our individual references that we go back to and wanting to pull in, you know, and like talk through. So that's one thing.
Do you feel up to articulating some of the things that does?
Yeah, I think some of it, like some of this one thing. Okay, first of all, it makes me think about like who is scripting, who is scripting, who has the power to script, and who has the power to, or like, you know, put in their influences, right? And like why. So that's one. And then another thing I'm thinking about is like, which gives me anxiety. The thing that gives me anxiety is like, oh damn, we gotta list all the references, you know. And then so then like that gives me anxiety because I'm like, damn, it's just gonna be a list of references, which to me moves it to kind of what Splashes was kind of saying at the end of like the representationalism, conceptualization of ideas. We're talking, you know, we're using these people to talk through, you know, to get our feelings or thoughts across. And then it kind of ended with me being like, then I mean, I also take an extremist. I'm very binary. I'm blaming my OCD once I learned about this, but like, I tend to be like, oh, and then I'm like, so now after being like, oh no, we have to put all references. Now I'm like, just no references, no references. And like, we say the thing that we're actually trying to say. Like we're trying to, you know, like what the, so that I feel like a similar thing happened last time when we did this, where I was like, fuck all this. I'm just gonna like write something. But it also is like making me think about individualism and like how, you know, that I just wrote that thing about how we're coming in, we're supposed like the reason why we're live streaming is hopefully to like, move away from individual selves and like thinking about others. But it feels like, yeah, so because like even though like I feel like these specific people to each of us have a very specific meaning and a very special, you know, connection. And that connection I'm interested in, I think, but I'm now kind of like feel like those differences, it's like those differences kind of make me anxious, actually. Yeah.
The differences between each of us in what the different references mean to each of us,
or like our points of references when we're talking, we're all kind of basically interested in saying similar things, you know, like same with all these theorists, and a lot of them are basically like getting to the same thing but using different routes or different, right? Like so like you can see that with Barad, Enchem, and Pat. They're all like, that's something that I noticed in TFT1. They're all coming from different things, but they're basically all kind of like endorsing the same thing or wanting us to like, you know, like they're engaging in the world in a very similar way, just through different disciplines. So then Oh wait, what was your question?
Yeah. You're answering. You're answering
Oh
it.
yeah. Okay. Um, so there's a part of me that wants to like ditch all the references, but then I'm also like thinking about feminist, practice of citation, and then also wanting to honor the people that I think are pretty big influences, just because of the TFT series, and this is coming from the TFT. So that's kind of where I'm at. So like,
What was the term that you used? Feminist something honors?
oh, feminist practice of citation,
Okay,
which is like citing
that's right.
sources and like
Okay.
honoring your influences.
Lineage.
Yes.
Thank you for all those contributions to the question of what do differences do? I don't have it. There's nothing on my mind in response to this question. Is there anything on anybody else's mind?
I mean, by by engaging in this methodology, we have reached a new level of understanding and raised new questions, of course. Like the differences create, like enliven the conversation, create the texture for us to determine the shape of what we're even talking about. I think they create the phenomenon that we're trying to analyze.
Can you name any of the things that we have a new level of understanding?
Maybe it's, I mean, I think we've put metaphysics on the table. Where I think we put on the table things that have been missing. I think I'm not sure it's even the metaphysics has been missing, except that it's like if feminist practice of citation is like actually fully exploring the space and being like, okay, so we can talk about optical physics, but like we also need to talk about epistemology, and we also need to talk about like
Ontology.
just even the boundary between, like, I think just even acknowledging there's a boundary between like what can be observed and like what is what yeah, abstracted from from observable reality. And I think also, yeah, I think I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself about the new levels of understanding, but like re rekindling the desire to make physical demonstrations of stuff we're talking about. It's not exactly new, but it's keeping it from dying, keeping it from getting too
Yeah.
old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lee.
Hello. I'm feeling really responsive to this, and this feels like such like a positive like next steps or sketching in terms of what things are. And I also appreciate the space of understanding and capacity for mistakes. So what I was wondering is, listening to some of the anxiety around citations and like staying organized with that. Um, do y'all ever use like an annotated bibliography program or like citation program like Zotero? Sometimes for my personal research practice, that often helps keep my citations super organized, because if I'm ever like, fuck, what was that like Donna Haraway quote from like this one essay? Like I don't remember the exact like framing of it, and then I just like go back to my notes, and which include like different quotes, but basically my summary of what it is. Maybe that could be like an addition to Thinky Tank, is to kind of have some form of scribing in terms of how the group processes the reality of what this text is, which I'm sure y'all already have like meeting notes. So I guess it's just like the matter. I don't know, but y'all don't have to do that. It's just like a suggestion, you know. Yeah.
That's whenever I imagine that happening, I feel so much more at ease than anything else that I've imagined in regard to keeping track of and organizing our sprawling citations and our interpretations of them. And also with it being like I remember using Zotero like maybe in high school or college, and like being like, oh, somebody built that, and like it was a tool to track citations in a certain way, and oh my God, we can build that too. Like we can build it. It made me think back to the exciting conversations about the website and the library and the different tour guide or the different maps of the library of our website and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think even the struggle of articulating for Lee what our influence, like what thinkers have influenced here. Like I think creating that artifact as part of our practice rather than, you know, pulling it together at the last minute from what we can recall. You know, from what's top of mind right now.
This is going into your internet website thing too, Slash.
Yeah, totally.
Which
yeah.
is basically like that. Which is basically like a Zotero.
It's like it's the text as much as possible. Like Zotero is like, well, Zotero like also manages the PDFs of papers or not? Does Zotero do that?
Or just citation? I don't know.
I think to have like memory space, that much memory space, you might have to get a subscription.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that
you could always drop links to Google Drive though.
Yeah.
What? Okay, can I add another thing? I also really love the question of what do the differences do. So the differences, I feel like this is what differences do to me. Is like I'm seeing a pattern. Like from the last time, making me want to be like scratch everything. Like, ugh, what are we doing?
Let me add to this. The references scratch everything just to.
I mean, I like
be more specific.
I hate actually do not like archiving. I do not like taking pictures. I do not like documenting. I don't like, I think it's important because of the world that we live in, because we are in representationalism. And I think it's because of, history of not citing and extraction and all that stuff and appropriation and that,
the usefulness of forgetfulness.
Well that too. Yeah. Also, yeah. Forget, and like you can get dementia and Alzheimer's too, and memory is interesting. So okay, yes, there's all those reasons too. A part of me like really wishes to exist, not having to do anything. We're just like, I'm existing in the moment. We are building, like creating each other and worlding in the moment. I understand. So like that's one part. So what the differences are doing are getting me to go there. And then it's also making me like go back to the reason, like why we have to write this thing in the first place, and then makes me question that, because this is which we've been by the way, we've been working on for a long time. It's prompted because like we are trying to make a fucking web page. Like we're trying to make a web page for the fucking Thinky Philly tank, okay? Where we're gonna embed the live stream. It's gonna be on the Revolution website. It's gonna give information about the Thinky Philly. And so we just want people to know what the fuck this is. And so that's why we're writing this. And it turned into like this like really like very difficult thing to do just so that we can put it on the fucking website. So like, yeah. So just kind of made me want to go back to like, okay, we just need a fucking description of what this thing is. But that's like the trouble. So I feel like going back to the root is making me what the differences are doing are actually making me go back to like the root of why, like, or the original reason why what is this text and what is it supposed to do? Why do we need it? Do we need it? Like stuff like that. Also, this is also Lee, this is also just one paragraph of a longer description. I mean, the beginning part is just more like history, like TFT started this date and it was supposed to do this and we did this and now it's this.
Does it feel premature for me to unveil this? Does anybody have resistance to me unveiling this final question? Okay, this final question is now what will we do? And I have a response to that, which is excited by what Lee said first and what Splash added on to in regard to our bibliography or organizing tool. And that is to have this paragraph say, in our current form, we're guided by the guests from TFT number 1, Karen Barad, Inkaman Defo, Women Stand Shining, Pat McCabe. Our expanded list of references is found here on the Zotero, on our Zotero thing that you can use to access like specifically what like we draw from these people and many others. And so one of my responses to now what will we do is a suggestion of offloading the work that this paragraph is doing into a development of a organized artifact of our, like, citing the different things that we draw from. That seems like a useful organizational tool to me, and also like in the ways that I don't feel the feeling of no references scratch everything. But in the ways that I like this makes me question what the purpose of this paragraph and the use of this paragraph is, and how to be, like, I don't know, well designed for that use. It leads me to think about that idea.
I am more open to that than I was in the past when you said something similar. And I'm wondering now, like, in the creating of this artifact, could that be the whatever booklet or summation that we were planning to do of TFT1 and TFT2? Like, could that, like, I could be open, I could be open to just like listing, oh, we were influenced by our guests, and then also listing the guests of two as well. I mean, I think, definitely, but I mean, I do, the thing that I want to ask is like, is not wanting to give a short description like how it is here, is it, because I felt like it when you mentioned it before Lamp Shift, I got the sense that it was more of a concern of misrepresenting, or like misrepresenting these three people, or not giving them justice, due justice or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it seems like it's maybe a different reason. So that's one of my questions, is because I'm wondering, because for me, like, if it's because of a concern of not being able to get it right, that is less, because I have this like motto, like, no fear, like, can't make decisions based on fear or whatever, or like that fear being the overwhelming thing. So if it's like that, then I would want to revisit that. But if it's this other thing of like, oh, this is actually more expansive, we don't try to name it. It's actually, maybe it's like the opening of the rays that are coming out of my slit. If it's more like that, then I'm like, okay, and I can get on beyond I can get behind that because of that second one, because I can kind of feel it. My only concern, I guess, my other question, not concern, is like, I am curious because we didn't talk about how they were described, and so part of me is like, want to know if people were okay with it. I mean, this is of course a longer discussion, so like, because, and I now noticing like what the differences are doing is making me notice that we didn't even really talk about the description of each person. So
Mhm. Entangler, thanks for asking that. And I feel confidently in the latter. And
Oh.
I totally remember being in the former too. And that just doesn't feel so relevant right now. Yeah.
Mhm. I'm curious what Splash and Lee think. What do you think about just naming the people and not going into
Yeah. Does anybody else have a response to the prompting question? Now what will we do?
I feel like whether or not you cite somebody is an art form, you know, like sometimes not citing somebody, but being very clear who you're referencing, but like kind of like still in like an inference kind of way. Sometimes it reads as shade in really a funny way. So,
Right.
but you know, I think it's worth it to maybe do both, you know, to write what you want to write, like fuck the references, and then to kind of like go through and kind of maybe do like a footnote, like, you know, the little 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and have like a note that's like a little like info dump on like Karen Barad X, Y, and Z or whatever, you know. And then for further information on this article or whatever, go to the Zotero. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's up to y'all. Like that's just like me as kind of like a soundboard, my response.
Thank
but
you.
it's important to hear that. I don't know, because like that's I don't know. I feel like it's good to hear how it could be received for sure. And I heard the like not having or like a kind of like offhand kind of reference could feel like shady or something. Um,
What do you mean offhand reference?
Yeah.
I don't think
oh,
anything
like
feels shady, by the
or
way.
maybe
Like nothing
more
feels.
shady. You said something that made me feel like it would be
Like oblique reference. Not being clear who you're referencing.
Yeah,
oh
and like throwing
Oh yeah.
shade, throwing shade. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not saying like it is a shady thing, you know what I mean? Like if you wanted to like joke on a certain like fucked up episteme, you know, or like if you wanted to
Mhm.
bite at something, that's like a way to show your preference, you know?
Uh-huh. I follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Like it's definitely something to get creative with.
I feel inclined. My answer to that question is like assemble the quotes of the things that that really communicate those ideas to us and put in our own words what those ideas have communicated to us. And like that lets our our lineage speak for itself, but also makes it clear what we've done with the lineage. Um, and like, you know, and if people think that we've misrepresented it, like that, then we at least have been clear that that's how we're representing it. Like we aren't, we may be taking things out of context or something, but in our own context, this is how we, how we feel it. I also just love repeating the words that have really sparked the insight for me.
repeating the words is in quotes, like having a quotation that has the words that really sparked insight for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know, I think there's something in the persuasive power of the well expressed thought always gets me.
so you're for citation, like you're for kind of fleshing out or unpacking each of our influences.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, so wait, what do we do now? Take a vote.
The end of the meeting.
I know where it's like.
Or okay, wait. I have a suggestion. Based off of what Splash just said, can we? And this is maybe going into something Lampship that you wanted to do before of like diffracting how we feel about something versus what was quoted. So I'm like wondering if we wanted to do homework to bring in those quotes of each person, like, and I can share a document in which I transcribed a lot of it that you can refer to. But wondering if we can bring in the quotes for each three of the people that resonate with us, and then we could do another activity, Lampship, that does kind of what you were saying before, of like taking the actual quotes and then taking our feelings or something like that, or interpretation. It's like Splash, you're saying, because like it is their quotes, but then it's like entangling with us as an apparatus, and then it's coming out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
So I'm wondering if we can then do a diffraction activity with us as the apparatus in which these quotes are coming through, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, we can, that's not a data visualization, but it like we can actually show the input and the output through our apparatus.
Yeah.
Are you? I was just gonna say something really immature.
Please.
Yeah.
Input output through your apparatus made me think of parts. You know what I mean? that's all I wanted to contribute there. Sorry. I love a good part.
Yeah.
Here's a doc of, if it's helpful for if we want to do this activity. Here's a doc. It's the recap of TFT 1, in which I just like transcribed or copied from the transcripts a lot of quotes that I like. It's not of course comprehensive, but it's like maybe helpful. But then there's also like the transcripts from TFT 1 Zoom. But is that, I don't know, Lampship, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know how to type out what the homework assignment is, but I do feel like I could come up with, I could structure and facilitate another diffraction apparatus for what we bring in from our homework.
Okay. I can write up the homework assignment.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And doing this next time, is there anything else that we should do next time, or thumbs up for us for this being what our next Thinky Feely Tank is?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that it's 9:04. Can I check in? Can we have 2 more minutes? Do y'all have 2 more minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. What we see here on this Jamboard is the artifact of our diffraction apparatus today. This is the what's the word for it? Diffraction pattern. And so, but we can still choose for this to look differently, right? We're not stuck with this. So I'm wondering if there's anything that y'all want to change about this before it kind of becomes preserved as the diffraction pattern from today.
I like it. I like the weird overlapping and like how like parts with no sticky notes are going only on parts of each of our slits. I like the scribbling that Slash did, the covering and the post-its over some of the text. Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, so consent vote. So consent vote on this being the what's the word again? Diffraction pattern. The diffraction pattern from our time today. Consent vote. Are there any bodily no's? All right, great. That's all I wanted to check in on.
I'm sad they're sunsetting the Jamboards. Like the only ones who use them, probably.
Wait, Jamboards are going away?
Yeah, in October. Lee, in October. It's coming so soon.
No.
Oh, you use Jamboards too.
Oh.
See you next
R.I.P.
week.
Jamford.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh wait, are we leaving? We're not closing, officially closing out? Okay.
Oh,
It's cool.
okay.
Close,
Okay.
Wait. We're
Okay.
closing out.
Wait,
We're supposed-
what?
Okay, we're closing out the TFT.
So we sometimes, if you have your camera
Sure.
on, you can do this.
We can stop the share maybe so we can have
Oh,
the
yeah.
gallery view.
Oh, really, really good point.
Okay.
Hey,
good.
YouTube. Okay. And
Okay.
And then we're releasing.
okay.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Lamp Shift.